I remember the day everything changed like it was yesterday. I was just 9 years old, sitting at our kitchen table, when Mom and Dad sat down with serious faces I'd never seen before. Dad reached for my hand, his own trembling slightly. "Amber, sweetheart," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I need to tell you something important." That was the day we learned about the cancer. I didn't fully understand what it meant then, but I understood enough to know that my world was about to turn upside down. For the next 2 years, our cozy house became a revolving door of doctors, relatives, and well-wishers. I watched my father, once strong and vibrant, slowly fade away. Mom tried to keep things normal, but nothing was normal anymore. She'd force smiles during the day, but at night, I'd hear her crying in their bedroom. I'd sit outside their door, wanting to go in, but not knowing what to say. When Dad passed away, I was 11. The funeral was a blur of black clothes and hushed voices. Mom held my hand so tight it hurt, but I didn't mind. I thought we'd get through it together. I was wrong. A week after the funeral, Mom sat me down again, this time alone. "Amber, I've been talking to your grandmother," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "I think it would be best if you stayed with her for a little while. Just until I can get things sorted out." "But why can't I stay here with you?" I asked, my voice small. "I need some time alone, honey, to process everything, to figure out how to move forward." She tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, but the gesture felt hollow. "It'll just be for a few months." Grandma Margaret, Dad's mother, picked me up the next day. She didn't say much during the drive to her house, but I could see her knuckles white on the steering wheel. When we arrived at her modest 2-story home, she helped me carry my bags to the guest room. Over the next few months, Mom would call every few weeks. The conversations always followed the same pattern. "When can I come home, Mom?" "Just be patient, sweetie. Just a little longer." "But I miss you." "I miss you too. But this is better for now." "You understand, right?" I didn't understand. Neither did Grandma, though she never said it outright. She'd just press her lips together whenever Mom called, her disapproval clear in the way she'd busy herself in the kitchen, banging pots and pans a little louder than necessary. Grandma made sure I never felt unwanted. She'd cook my favorite meals, help me with homework, and tell me stories about Dad when he was young. But no matter how comfortable I was at Grandma's, it wasn't home. I kept waiting for Mom to come back for me, to want me again. After 6 months at Grandma's, Mom finally came for me. I was doing homework at the kitchen table when I heard a car pull up outside. Through the window, I saw Mom step out of an unfamiliar blue sedan. A man I'd never seen before stayed in the driver's seat. "Amber," Mom burst through the door, more animated than I'd seen her since Dad died. Her hair was styled, her makeup fresh, and she was wearing a new dress. "I've got wonderful news." Grandma appeared from the living room, arms crossed. "Sarah, this is unexpected." "Mom, Amber, I want you to meet someone special." Mom was practically bouncing. "Well, he's waiting in the car. He's a bit shy about coming in, but..." She grabbed my hands. "Amber, honey, I'm getting married. His name is Robert, he's absolutely wonderful. A successful businessman, and he has 2 daughters about your age. You'll have sisters, isn't that exciting?" I looked at Grandma, whose face had turned to stone. "Sarah," Grandma's voice was careful, measured. "Don't you think this is a bit sudden?" "Oh, Margaret, when you meet him, you'll understand. He's perfect for us. Amber, he's going to be such a wonderful stepfather to you. And his girls, Emma and Lisa, they're 9 and 10. Their mother passed away 3 years ago, and Robert's raised them alone. We're going to be one big, happy family." I peered out the window at the man in the car. He was staring straight ahead, not even glancing toward the house. "Come on, Amber," Mom said, already gathering my things. "Let's go home. The girls are waiting to meet you." The drive home was filled with Mom's chatter about Robert, the wedding plans, and how perfect everything would be. When we pulled up to our house, the house Dad and Mom had bought together, two girls were sitting on the front steps. They looked like matching dolls, with their identical blonde hair and pink dresses. "Girls," Mom called out, waving. "Come meet Amber." I stepped forward, trying to smile. "Hi, I'm..." "We know who you are," the taller one, Emma, cut me off. Her voice was sweet as honey, but her eyes were cold. "Our dad told us all about you." "Yeah," Lisa, the younger one, chimed in. "But just so you know, he's not going to be your dad. He's our dad. And your mom is going to be our new mom," Emma added with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We're going to be one big happy family. Right, Sarah?" "Of course, sweetie," Mom beamed, completely missing the tension. 3 months later, I stood in front of a mirror in a plain blue dress while Emma and Lisa twirled around in matching pink bridesmaid gowns. The wedding was about to start, and I could still hear the echoes of their screaming from earlier. "We won't wear the same dress as her," they'd shrieked when Mom suggested matching dresses for all three of us. "She's not even really part of the family." In the official wedding photos, I'm barely visible, thanks to Emma and Lisa strategically positioning themselves to block me out. As I stared at those photos later, I realized this wasn't going to be the happy family Mom had promised. Life in our blended family quickly settled into a routine. Robert wasn't cruel, he just acted like I was invisible. He'd come home from work, hug Emma and Lisa, kiss Mom, and walk right past me as if I were a piece of furniture. Mom, desperate to prove her devotion to her new husband, showered his daughters with attention while barely sparing a glance my way. The first Christmas after the wedding made it crystal clear where I stood. Emma and Lisa each got new iPads and designer clothes, while I received a basic phone and some discount store sweaters. Thank God for Grandma Margaret. She never forgot me. For my 13th birthday, she gave me a beautiful silver locket with Dad's picture inside. Emma spotted it around my neck at dinner. "That's so pretty," she said, eyes gleaming. "You should share it with me. That's what sisters do." When I refused, I found the locket's chain mysteriously broken the next day. Another time, Grandma sent me a limited edition set of art supplies. I loved drawing, just like Dad had. A week later, I found my sketchbook soaked in water and the expensive pencils snapped in half. When I confronted Lisa, she just smiled. "Prove it was me," she said sweetly. "Mom," I tried showing her the ruined supplies. "Look what they did." "Amber, stop being dramatic," Mom sighed. "You probably left them out in the rain yourself. Stop trying to blame your sisters for everything." Then, when I turned 15, Mom dropped another bombshell: she was pregnant. The house exploded with excitement, everyone except me, that is. Robert's daughter squealed about having a baby brother or sister, while I sat quietly, already knowing what this would mean. The baby, a boy they named Michael, arrived in spring. 3 weeks after Mom came home from the hospital, they called a family meeting in the living room. "Now that Michael's here," Mom began, not quite meeting my eyes, "we need to make some changes to the sleeping arrangements." Robert cleared his throat. "We think it would be best if you moved in with Emma and Lisa. Michael needs his own room." "No." The word came out before I could stop it. "I'm not sharing a room with them. This is my room. This is my father's house." The room went silent. "What did you say?" Mom whispered. "Dad bought this house," I continued, my voice growing stronger. "He paid for it. You and your daughters moved into our house, and now you want to take my room away?" Robert's face turned red. Emma and Lisa sat with their mouths open, for once speechless. "How dare you?" Mom's voice shook. "How can you be so selfish? After everything we've done for you?" Tears started rolling down her cheeks. "Robert has been nothing but good to you, and this is how you repay us?" "Good to me?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "He doesn't even look at me." After that, the house became even more of a prison. Nobody spoke to me at meals. Mom and Robert acted like I wasn't there, and Emma and Lisa didn't even bother with their usual taunts, they just pretended I was invisible. The silence was somehow worse than their cruelty had been. After 3 days of complete silence in the house, I couldn't take it anymore. I picked up my phone and called the one person who had never let me down. When Grandma's car pulled into the driveway, I saw Mom and Robert watching from the kitchen window. As I walked out with my backpack, they didn't try to stop me. If anything, they looked relieved. Life at Grandma's felt like being able to breathe again after years of holding my breath. We fell into an easy routine: breakfast together every morning, homework at the kitchen table while she baked, long talks about Dad and what he was like at my age. 2 months passed quickly. Then one morning, Grandma sat me down with her serious face on. "Amber, I need to tell you something," she said, taking my hands in hers. "I've been talking to your mother. She's willing to give up her parental rights. And I want to adopt you, officially." I stared at her, hardly daring to believe it. "Really?" "Really. It's your choice, of course. But I want you to know that this has always been your home, and I would be honored to be your legal guardian." Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged her. "Yes, please, yes." The legal process was surprisingly smooth. Mom signed the papers without hesitation. The only thing left was to get my remaining belongings from the house. When I went back, no one was home. I found all my things packed in boxes in the garage, covered in dust. My old room had been completely transformed into a nursery for Michael, painted blue with clouds on the ceiling. I loaded my boxes into Grandma's car without saying goodbye. They hadn't bothered to say goodbye to me, after all. High school was different now. Emma and Lisa still attended the same school, but we existed in parallel universes. We'd pass each other in the hallways without a glance, like strangers who had never shared a home. Sometimes I'd hear them laughing with their friends, talking about family vacations or weekend plans, but it was like listening to a radio station playing in another room, distant and disconnected from my reality. I threw myself into my studies, determined to make something of myself. Grandma supported me every step of the way, helping me with college applications and encouraging me to aim high. The day my acceptance letter arrived from State University, along with a partial scholarship offer, Grandma was more excited than I'd ever seen her. "I have something to tell you," she said that evening. "I've been saving for your college fund since the day your father died. I wanted to make sure you'd have options." The amount she had saved left me speechless. With the scholarship covering most of my tuition, we decided together to save most of the money for my future. I'd need it someday for grad school, or maybe to start my own life after college. Those first few years of college were transformative. I called Grandma every Sunday, visited during holidays, and finally felt like I was building my own life. My mother, Robert, and their perfect little family became distant memories, like characters in a story I'd read long ago. The call came during my final semester of senior year. "Amber," Grandma's voice was weaker than I'd ever heard it. "The doctors found something." I started making the trip home every weekend after that. Each time, Grandma seemed a little frilier, a little more tired. But she never lost her spirit. "Don't you dare skip any classes for me," she'd insist, even as the hospital machines beeped around her. "I didn't save all that money for your education just for you to play nursemaid to an old woman." When graduation day came, Grandma was too weak to attend. The nurses helped prop her up in her hospital bed, and we set up her smartphone so she could watch the live stream. After I crossed the stage and got my diploma, I looked directly into the camera and blew her a kiss. Later, she told me she'd cried through the whole ceremony. I went straight from graduation to the hospital. For the next week, I barely left her side. We talked about everything and nothing, memories of Dad, her childhood stories, her hopes for my future. Then one quiet morning, while I was holding her hand, she slipped away peacefully in her sleep. Planning the funeral felt surreal. I was choosing flowers and making arrangements in the same house where Grandma and I had shared breakfast just weeks ago. Then, on the day of the service, I saw them. My mother, Robert, Emma, Lisa, and a young boy I barely recognized as my half-brother Michael walked into the funeral home. 7 years had changed them. Emma and Lisa were now grown women, and Michael, who I'd last seen as a baby, was now a grade schooler in a small black suit. The ceremony passed in a blur. I stood alone by the casket, accepting condolences from distant relatives and Grandma's friends. Then suddenly, Mom was there. "Amber," she said softly, her eyes red from crying. "I'm so sorry for your loss." "Margaret, she was a wonderful woman." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. "Listen," Mom continued, twisting her hands together nervously, "I know it's been a long time, but would you consider coming to dinner with us? All of us? We'd like to try to make things right." Looking at her face, lined now with age and grief, I felt the weight of all our unsaid words. "I'll think about it," I managed to say. A week later, after meeting with Grandma's lawyer and learning she'd left me everything, the house, her savings, all of it, I made my decision. Maybe it was time to face the past. The house I'd grown up in looked smaller somehow, shabbier. The paint was peeling, the garden overgrown. Inside, Robert, Emma, Lisa, and Michael were waiting around the dining room table. The awkward silence was broken only by the clinking of silverware against plates. "So," Mom finally said, forcing brightness into her voice, "what are your plans now that you've graduated?" I took a slow sip of water before answering. "I'm staying in town, actually. Going to live in Grandma's house." The flash of satisfaction in Mom's eyes was quick, but I caught it. Something about that look made me uneasy, though I couldn't say why. My degree in business administration landed me a position as a junior executive at Wilson & Associates. The salary was more than I'd ever dreamed of making right out of college, and with no rent to pay thanks to Grandma's house, I was able to save a good portion of my earnings. Mom started dropping by regularly, usually with fresh-baked cookies or a casserole. At first, our conversations were awkward, filled with long pauses and careful words. But gradually, she began opening up about their struggles. The heating bill was so high this month, she'd sigh, or Michael's growing so fast, he needs new shoes again. The first time I offered help, it was almost automatic. Mom was talking about a leaky faucet they couldn't afford to fix. "I have some extra cash," I said, pulling out $200. "Here, get it fixed." The way her face lit up made something warm stir in my chest. After that, it became a regular thing, small amounts here and there for whatever crisis they were facing that week. Then, surprisingly, Emma and Lisa started coming around too. They told me about their jobs, Emma as a receptionist, Lisa working retail, and their struggles to make ends meet. It was strange hearing them talk without any trace of their old meanness. When Mom mentioned that Michael needed a laptop for school, I didn't hesitate. The smile on his face when I gave it to him made all our past history seem distant and unimportant. "You're the best big sister ever," he said, hugging me. It was our first real hug. The real breakthrough came during my business trip to New York. When Emma and Lisa asked if they could tag along, I was hesitant at first, but their excitement was contagious. "We've never been anywhere," Lisa admitted. "Dad always said we couldn't afford it." I booked them economy tickets and found a decent tourist-class hotel in Manhattan. Watching them experience New York for the first time was like seeing the city through new eyes. They took pictures of everything, gasped at the height of the skyscrapers, and couldn't stop talking about how amazing it all was. During our dinner at a small Italian restaurant in Little Italy, Emma raised her glass of house wine. "To family," she said, and for the first time, the word didn't feel wrong. Back home, our regular dinners became a tradition. Mom, Emma, and Lisa would always insist on choosing budget-friendly restaurants, and they never ordered anything expensive. They seemed genuinely grateful for everything, no matter how small. Mom's call came on a Tuesday afternoon, just like any other. I was reviewing work documents when my phone lit up with her name. "Hi, sweetie," her voice was warm, familiar. "How are you doing?" We chatted about nothing in particular, Michael's school performance, Emma's new haircut, the usual family gossip. Then, just as we were wrapping up, she added, "Oh, by the way, honey. I hate to ask, but could you maybe transfer $200? The car needs some minor repairs. Sure, Mom. I'll send it right now. You're an angel, Amber. I love you so much. I was about to hang up when I realized the call hadn't ended. There was rustling on the other end, then voices growing clearer. Mom must have thought she'd pressed the end button. Did she fall for it? That was Emma's voice, followed by a laugh I hadn't heard since high school, sharp, mocking. Of course she did. Mom's voice had changed completely, dripping with contempt. She always does. Little Miss successful with her fancy job and her inherited house. God, I'm so tired of pretending to like her, Lisa groaned. Did you see what she was wearing at dinner last week? That awful blazer? She thinks she's so much better than us just because she went to college. They all laughed, Mom, Emma, and Lisa. Then I heard Robert's voice join in. You're doing great, honey, he told Mom. Keep it small for now. We don't want to spook her. I know, Mom replied. We have to play it smart. Small amounts here and there, build up her trust. Once she completely lets her guard down, then we can really start asking for more. She's loaded now, that house, her savings, her salary. We just need to make sure she spends it on us, instead of herself. It's not fair, Emma whined. Why should she have all that money? We deserve it more than she does. Of course you do, sweetheart, Mom said. You and Lisa are twice the daughters she ever was. Don't worry, we'll get what's ours. She's too stupid to see what's really going on. Always was, just like her father. I ended the call with a single press of my finger, but their laughter kept echoing in my ears. The family I thought I'd finally found had never existed. It had all been an elaborate performance, with me playing the role of the foolish benefactor. The next morning, Mom's number flashed on my phone screen. Amber, honey. We're having a special family dinner tonight. You'll come, won't you? I heard the false sweetness in her voice now, the calculated warmth that I'd been too desperate to recognize before. Sure, Mom. What time? 7 o'clock. Everyone will be there. When I arrived at the house, they were all waiting. Mom had made my favorite lasagna. Emma and Lisa were dressed up, playing their roles perfectly. Even Michael seemed to have been coached to be extra affectionate. Amber, Mom rushed to hug me. You look tired, sweetie. Work keeping you busy? I returned her hug mechanically, noting how she exchanged quick glances with Robert. Throughout dinner, they kept up their performance, asking about my job, laughing at each other's jokes, playing the perfect family. I watched them like I was seeing a play, noticing every forced smile, every calculated gesture. Finally, as we were finishing dessert, Mom cleared her throat. Amber, honey, we actually wanted to talk to you about something important. She reached for Robert's hand, their practiced move for serious conversations. The house, well, we've had some structural issues come up. The foundation needs urgent repairs. We've gotten estimates, Robert added, trying to sound fatherly. It's going to cost about $10,000. Mom leaned forward, her eyes wide and hopeful. We hate to ask, but since you're doing so well. I smiled, and I saw Mom's face light up with triumph. She thought she had me. No. The word fell into the silence like a stone into still water. What? Mom's smile faltered. I said no. Not 10,000, not $10. Not another cent. Emma and Lisa exchanged confused looks. Robert sat up straighter. But honey, Mom started, we really need. You forgot to hang up the phone yesterday, Mom, I kept my voice calm, almost conversational. After you asked for that $200. The color drained from her face. Emma and Lisa froze. Even Michael, who probably didn't understand what was happening, stopped eating his cake. I heard everything, I continued. About how tired you are of pretending to like me. About how you've been playing me for money. About how you think I'm stupid, just like my father. I turned to Emma and Lisa. About how you deserve my money more than I do. We were just joking, Lisa burst out. It wasn't serious. Amber, sweetie, Mom reached for my hand. I pulled it away. You're misunderstanding. The only thing I misunderstood was thinking you had changed. I stood up from the table. But you know what? I should thank you. You've finally shown me who you really are, and now I can stop wasting my time trying to build a relationship with people who see me as nothing but an ATM. I walked out of that house for the last time, ignoring their calls behind me. But of course, they didn't give up easily. The calls started that night, first Mom, then Robert, then the sisters. Voicemails, text messages, emails, all begging forgiveness, claiming it was just a joke, that I was overreacting. When I blocked their numbers, they started showing up at my house, knocking on my door at all hours. I knew I needed a clean break. The next morning, I walked into my boss's office. Janet, remember when you mentioned expanding the New York office? 2 weeks later, I had a transfer approval in hand. I listed Grandma's house with a realtor, and it sold quickly, the market was good, and it was in a prime location. I found a beautiful apartment in Manhattan's Upper West Side, with big windows and a view of the park that would have made Grandma smile. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, I think about them, Mom, Robert, Emma, Lisa, and little Michael. I hope Michael grows up to be different from them. But I don't regret my decision. I learned that family isn't about blood or legal documents. It's about love, real love, not the kind that comes with price tags and hidden fees.